Yes, sure.
What do you think?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay. Good morning and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Ali Janabi, postgraduate students in UKM, and the moderator for this webinar, which organized by the Department of Information Technology from Bayero University, Kano. Allows me to introduce our speaker today, but before that, I'd love to mention that we'll receive all your questions on the chat for each sections on this webinar. So I will introduce you, the speaker today. So Dr. Asma Nouman Al-Janabi holds a PhD degree in Control System and Analysis in 2017 at Al Mustansiriya University, Iraq. Currently, she is a lecturer at the Nahrain University College of Engineering. Her main current research areas are distributed parameter system analysis and control system analysis. She has many publications in her area of interest. Dr. Ibrahim holds a PhD degree in data science in 2020 at the UKM Malaysia. Currently, he is a lecturer in Department of Information Technology, Bayero University, Kano. His main current research areas are data analysis, natural language processing, artificial intelligence, specifically in business intelligence, and computational intelligence. He has published on a sentiment analysis, natural language processing, and data mining. Ms. Ilham Naam, she is a PhD researcher in cybersecurity at FTSM, UKM, Malaysia. Currently, she is waiting for her Viva. Her main current research area is information and communications technology. She has many publications in her area of interest. And also, we have Dr. Abdul Samad, a PhD degree in, Dr. Abdul Samad holding a PhD degree in management science in 2020 at the UTM University, Malaysia. Currently, he is a lecturer in Department of Management, University of Lorali, Pakistan. His main current research areas are human resource management and organization behavior. He has many publications in his area of interest. So now we will start with Dr. Asma to share with us her tips and advice for audience and new researchers how to find the topic or research topic. So could you, Dr. Asma, share your slideshow?
I think she's muted.
Pardon?
I think she is muted.
Yeah, you're muted. Yeah, Dr. Asma, could you unmute your voice? Now we can hear you. Yes, Victor.
Okay, Okay, good afternoon. Welcome to attend this free webinar. In this presentation, we will introduce the target steps that help you to identify which specific research area that can you start for. So at the beginning, you must ask yourself necessary questions: how to choose a topic to my research? A first ready message, we must remember that this is your thesis or dissertation. Take ownership and the responsibility for it. The second really important advice message is talk with many people as possible, such as your supervisor or your colleagues, about what you want to research for. After this conversation, you have make a lot of discussions and the resolution, what you will go to study and looking for. So the two main axes of this presentation have two important and necessary steps. The first steps the first terminal, we talk about the research proposal, and the second step or second terminal is how to define your research topic. Well, let's see the first questions. What is the research proposal? The research proposal is a statement of intent where you are describe your intent and your aims. In other words, your declaration of your idea and show your motivations. In this step, it is very important to define a scope of your topic, and your subject must be specific enough. Also, we must have to declare and describe and characterization the aims and the object of our research, and explain what it is a better of the other topics, and you have to show it is a first time subject. Well, the next question is, what is the types of proposal that we have? Here we have three kinds of proposal. The first kind, they namely under thesis, when you want to get a master degree, this based on the existing knowledge. And the second type, namely dissertations for getting a PhD degree, and this type, we create a new contribution. And the last one is a research grant. Next, we move to another questions in this presentation, which is the target of our show is how to define your research topic. In this step, you must identify a general area of your research or interested domain. That interested domain may be the core subject that you like very much in your degree. Then we needed to define a subdomain of your research path. After that, research questions to be answered, such as, is your topics related to a real life? This is a good questions because we are looking for about applied science or applied research. So we must be sure it is related to a real life. The next question is your topic be useful, interesting? Also, is your topics is focused and specific? This is a good also focus and important because we must understand the difference between a subject and topic. Subject is broad general, such as education, sport, or films. Too big, too. So it become very large. It will be difficult to process the work. The topic is more focused and more specific. Also, another example, which is also important, can your topic fill a gap in research? Here we must looking for a gap or missing, and we must really ensure that your research covers that area. Finally, will this study generate a new knowledge? Here we have an important part in this research because the research problem must be not addressed previously by another researcher, and we must ensure that your topics is not kind of common topics have been processed by many people. Hence, your study generates a new knowledge, and this is a new very important because if you generated a new knowledge, it will be really scientific contribution. Thank you for your listening.
Thank you so much, Dr. Asma. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So we try to find any questions from audience about how to choose and select the topics.
Okay.
Okay, while we waiting for a minute to see anyone who will share any questions. Dr. Asma, allow me to ask you about, there is some new researchers or new students when they try to come to the research area, they become with some mistakes. So what's your opinion? I'd love to hear from you and from other speaker today about this things, like some people, when they try to do research and interesting works, and that topics that have already been proven. So what's your opinion about that? What's your advice or tips for them?
Well, quality research paper are based on a strong, reliable source. Hence, we must take something to write about your choosing topics that is interesting and require several sources to support your research.
Mm-hmm. And what about if the topics that the new researchers also, which is a mistakes, many students, they do it, especially the people who came from a degree immediately to master, or from a course, or they have done it by coursework, the master, and they try to do PhD with a full thesis. So they have leaked sometimes with unavailable information. So what they have to do in terms of this topic, that's unavailable information?
Okay, you cannot write a research paper about a topic with no data. If you choose something to obscure, like a color of Napoleon socks, or what Albert Einstein ate for breakfast, you aren't going to find a lot of detailed information about your research. Therefore, the topics will be unreliable in this time. And you can only find information in one source. So this will be unquality research paper.
Okay. So
because it depends only on one source information.
Thank you so much for addressing this problem. We have another question from our audience. Zizis, if I'm not mistaken about pronounce the name, asking how to confirm the topic selected is a new and a genuine.
What? Sorry?
The questions in the chat, how to confirm the topic selected is a new and a genuine.
Just a minute.
Yeah, I mean, like in another way, like the person who tried to asking here, like how to know this our topic, it's new and up to date and it's worth to work.
This is a way, make a chance to use your analysis and writing skills to bring realize to issues
from the reading of articles, right?
This is a writing skills of a student researcher.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Since there is no more questions about this topic, so we will move to Dr. Ibrahim, and we'd love to hear from you the tips for our participant and audience, how to identify the problem statement, Dr. Thank you so much, Dr. Asma.
Well, thank you, Dr.
Okay, stop sharing.
Yeah, please stop sharing, Dr. Asma, your screen. Okay.
What?
Mustafa, you can wait for your questions until the objectives, because this questions is retrieved to objectives more than topics.
So am I sharing to everyone?
Yes, now your slides is clear on the screen.
Hello, assalamu alaikum, and good morning to you all, and good afternoon. We are in different time zones, and maybe good evening to some. My name is Dr. Ibrahim Said Ahmad. I work in Bayrou University, Kano. I'll be talking on significant tips for a new researcher, specifically on how to identify and write a problem statement. So what is a research problem? A research problem is a question that a researcher wants to answer, or a problem that a researcher needs to solve. Okay, so a research problem are issues or concerns that an investigator or a researcher presents and justifies in a research study. So the research problem is the specific problem you want to answer. For example, if you have an objective, So your objective is trying to do something. It's trying to do something from a different angle. So what you are trying to do is as a result of a problem. You see a problem, then from that problem, you devise an objective. So a question that researcher want to answer. What is a problem statement? The problem statement is a statement that you write from your problem. You have your problem, then you put it into a statement. If you can see my mouse, I'm pointing at this. The problem statement falls between what should be happening ideally and what's actually happening. So if you have a current problem, something that is happening, and you think that is not good enough, then you come up with your problem statement. And your problem statements will take you to what should.
Dr. Ibrahim, your
should be happening ideally. Imagine
voice was
a specific service.
Sorry, I think the voice is breaking for everyone from your side.
Okay. Am I still breaking?
No, now it's clear.
Okay. Imagine a scenario where you want to follow a queue. You go to buy something, and there are a lot of people there, so there will be a long queue. So you want to optimize that. Okay, that's a problem. So how do you want it? You want people to go to maybe pick a number. They will give it a specific tally. You go, you sit down, then they call for your number. There will be no rowdy. There will be no I come first. So this is where what should be happening, the ideal thing that should be happening. And the rowdy session that everybody come shouting I come first, that's the problem. And how you do that is your problem statement.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you select a problem statement? How do you select a research problem? You don't just select a research problem because your friend is doing something similar or because you like the title like that. A lot of things come in place when you want to select a research problem that will help you in your research. You have to look at what is your general background. From where did you come from? What are the things that happen around you? What are the things you understand? What skills do you have? What interests you? What is your expertise? What motivates you? Like, what do you think about, for example, if the network is clear, right?
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, we can.
For example,
Yeah.
If you are a musician, or you like music and you want to conduct a research, you don't have to conduct a research from music industry, but yeah, you can imagine a problem happening in the music industry and formulate that. So, but don't just take a research problem just because everybody is doing that. No, what interests you? What skills do you have? Because these skills, interests, and expertise will help you in your research. So, how do we get a research problem? From where does it come? Somebody, Yahya Abu Bakr, please turn off your mic.
Yeah.
Yahya Abu Bakr, turn off your mic, please. Moderator, please, you can turn off his mic. So the common sources of a research problem, we have many of them actually. They can come from experts, they can come from personal experience, from practical experience, from critical appraisal of literature and social issues. How does it come from experts? Maybe you have a supervisor who is already an expert in that domain, and he says, if you have interest in this, you can focus on this. So you have a research problem, which is the simplest one. Then maybe from personal experience. This is like the previous example I gave. When you go to buy something and you see a lot of queue, a very long queue, yeah, you have personal experience on distance that are happening. Then you imagine, how can we optimize the queuing system? Then you have, the problem is that. Then you are thinking of how can you optimize that? Then a practical experience. Maybe you are a nurse or you are a doctor. From the skills you apply, you see some problems, you want to improve on that. Then you you imagine that is as a problem and you want to improve on that. Then the critical appraisal of literature is when you read thoroughly through the literature to find a problem statement, which is a bit challenging. Then social issues happening around you. For example, if we have some societal conflicts and many other social issues, we have refuse issue, management issue, like that you can model. So because our critical appraisal of literature is very important, I will take a little bit on it. How do you do that? You go through published works, you look for their future works. Many times they mention future works. So when it's a future work, it means there is an existing problem, then you can focus on that. Then you can also look at through previous studies and find their limitations. They do mention limitations sometimes. Those limitations, you can see how you can address some of the limitations they mentioned and see if you can improve their studies. So topics not covered by existing literature. When you conduct a very comprehensive literature, you'll be able to map all the studies done in that area. Then you see, okay, but many people cover this, but they don't really look at this. They don't cover this. When you do a very comprehensive review, you'll be able to visualize the things that have been covered and what is missing from the literature, called the gap. So then premature conclusion in existing studies. Some studies might make conclusions, they conduct the study and they make conclusions, but the data they use or the analysis they use is not strong enough to back that conclusion they make. As long as the data they use is insufficient or the analysis they do is very shallow, then you can say, okay, this is not sufficient. The conclusion is premature. It's biased. So I want to add so data, or I want to do so analysis. So that's a problem that the existing studies, they make premature conclusions. So to conduct a literary review, you start from a very big area. Generally, you read virtually everything. You keep coming down to focus review and your speak research concept and down to your area. Language of a problem statement. The problem statements are set of declarative sentences. So you don't ask questions. You don't mention your objectives, your goals, or your purposes. A declarative sentence is simply a statement that conveys information. Statements you use to say, this is it, this is it. Existing studies have not done this like that. So these are declarative statements. You don't use questions in a problem statement. So a problem statement can have up to 5 elements, from your topic to educational issues, which the concern a problem or something that is a solution, the evidence for that issue, how was it mentioned in the literature, deficiencies in the evidences. You have to prove that existing studies have not solved that, and what remedying the deficiency will do. So what is the implication of solving that problem? You don't mention your objective here, no, but the implications of solving the problem, not the objective. Be very careful about this, because many times people try to mention their objective in problem statement. No, you mention the importance of solving that problem, but not the objective. So, and every problem statement needs to have 3 parts. That is the principal proposition, interactive proposition, and speculative. Every problem statement needs to have these 3 parts for it to be sound, for it to be complete. The proposition mentions a fact. For example, according to so and so, yeah, you are mentioning a fact. Or existing studies have not covered. You are mentioning something that is a fact, backed up by literature. Then you mention the interactive proposition, which is, however, here you are trying to mention what other studies have said that this is a problem, or this have not been done like that. Then the speculative provision, where it comes to therefore, you start usually with therefore, then you mention the implication of solving the problem. So these 3 parts: the fact that this is what has been mentioned, or this is what is happening, what is currently happening. Then, however, this is a problem. Then, therefore, if we solve this problem, these 3 parts. So this is, for example, a good example of a problem statement. I don't know if I have enough time to go through it.
Yes, you still have time.
Yeah. There are various technologies that have been grouped as Web 2.0, the second version of the World Wide Web. As in other spheres of life, these technologies have their place in academic libraries, and other issues. This first sentence is telling us a fact, what is already there. However, the second statement, the second important aspect, however, no empirical data are available on the impact of such technologies in the library. So this is where you are mentioning the fact. This you are mentioning like the problem, like why would the actual problem. Then this is the implication. In order to improve the use of this technology library, there is need to study. Yeah. So this is the point I was trying to make. We have these three parts. This first part we mentioned a fact. Then this we mentioned the problem, and here we mentioned the implications. And it's the same with this in a different using different language. So in conclusion, because this comes to the end of my presentation, problem statement is either the first or among the first steps of a research process. Problem statement is the backbone of the study. It is one of the most challenging and difficult phase of research. Every research comes with challenges. Patience and perseverance is the key. Yeah. So thank you, and I'm looking forward to answering questions from you.
Thank you so much, Victor. Thank you so much. We are really thankful for this great tips about the problem statement and how to address it. So I think there is no questions yet from audience about how to determine the problem statements. But while that, if you don't mind, I would love to ask about some things that personally I have faced in the beginning of my research when I was doing the PhD in the first semester. Many times I was, try to find a gap and try to write the problem statement. But when I go to my supervisor, they say, this is no problem statement, this is motivation. So what's the difference between the problem statement and motivations if they are too close? Or some new students, I mean, the new researcher will be confusing as well, same as me in the beginning. So
yeah. Actually, it might seem the same, but they are quite different. Motivation is why you want to solve the problem. The problem is what I just finished explaining, the actual problem you want to solve. But the motivation, why you want to solve that, that's what motivates you. If I give you example, for example, if you mention a problem like, for example, like people with too much in a queue before they get a service, that's a problem. So what's the motivation? The motivation is to improve the queuing system. That's the motivation. So that's the motivation, to make it efficient, to make it better. That motivates you. That's like makes you want to solve it. But the problem is the specific problem people are facing.
That means the motivation, it's like you found this problem, so you are motivated right now to solve it. But how to solve it, you have to go to the techniques or to the things that's to solve the problem. Like your example, the technician, it's about how to find the new system or how to prove the system too, right? So it's really important that people, they are really confusing. And thank you for mentioning that, like it's too clear to me right now. So it's the motivation, like the things that you want to solve, but how to solve it is the problem statement. Anyhow, we are running out of time, Victor. So thank you so much for this gorgeous tips and how to address the problem statement. So now we may move to Dr. Ilham and see how to identify the objectives regarding to problem statement. Dr. Ilham, you're still hearing us, right?
Yeah, you hear me?
Yes, now we can see your slideshow.
And you hear me?
Yep, definitely.
Yes. Okay.
You may start.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Ibrahim, for your presentation and highlighted about the problem statement. Now I'm going to present how to extract research objectives. First, we have to know what is the research objectives. Research objective is the clear, concise, declarative statement which provide the direction to investigate the variables under your study. Means it is summary about the objectives that you want to achieve, as well as research objective indicated in the more details the specific research topic or the issue of the research plan to investigate, building on main theme stated in your research objectives or aims. Now, normally, at least you have two or three research objective in your you want started in your thesis. We can say also research objectives always must be after having formulated good research questions. After all, you have to explain the way in the which such equation is going to be answered. To found the research objective and is called for the SMART research objective, it's you have to define what the you have to find, use this keyword, what the objective, why this objective, who you will get the benefit from these objectives, and when. These call it SMART objectives. Here there is a process to identify research objective, because when I started to identify the objectives, you have to know first the problem statement. As Dr. Ibrahim he stated about and highlighted about the problem statement, how we can found it from the previous studies. We can analyze the previous studies in your interested area and look at how the other researchers frame objectives, and what the key technical terms or concepts they utilize. The better you understand the published literature in your topic, the more likely you are to be able to effectively conceptualize your own research objectives. Here also you have to explore if what is causing and the issue doesn't actually has effect, and while covering these gaps. Second process is identify the research objectives. When you identify the research objective, you have to draft the statement in your objective, reduce it until you satisfy with it as opinion or the previous attempt to describe your goals. And you have to discuss with your supervisor about the objective and ask him or her, your supervisor, what they think. They agree with your practical objective you have chosen, and do they regard them as visible? Because sometimes we identify objective, but when we go to and discuss with our supervisor and it's say this not objective, it's not or maybe it's not a level for the PhD or master objective.
Ilham, your slides is not moving, so or you are still keeping with the same first slide?
Doesn't show?
It's showing the first slide, so
Only
Here?
nothing changed in the screen. So
Okay, now?
share, now nothing shared. So could you please share again?
Okay,
Sorry for interrupting you. Huh?
it's okay.
Okay, now we can see the second.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, we studied about the research, about the process to identify the research objectives. Okay, as I stated before, before I identify the research objectives, I have to identify the problem statement. As Dr. Ibrahim, he already is highlighted about the problem statement, analyze the previous studies in your interested area, and look how the other researchers frame their objectives. What the key technical terms or the concept do they utilize? The better you understand the published literature on your topic, the more likely you are able effectively conceptualize your own research objectives. Also, explore if what you throw is causing the issue or doesn't actually have effect, and you will cover this gap or not. Second process, identify the research objective. Identify the research objectives. You have to drop the statement of your objective and revisit it until you are satisfied with an opinion of or professional attempted to describe your goal. Show it with your supervisor, and you have to discuss with him and ask him or her as what they think. Do they agree with the practical objective you have chosen, and do they grant them as visible? And sometimes we identify the objective and we discuss with our supervisor, then we say this is not objective for the level PhD or the master. So you have to discuss first, you identify. Third, identify the research question, because there is link between the research objective and our research problem statement and research question. Research question is formulated research problem investigated. And also, research question is about the scope of question as assessed by the research objectives. Number 4, about the process, it's about the link between the research objective and the research method. Research objective have to include the research method. Think carefully about the relationship between the research objective or the equation and your choice of the research method, because all research objective is included problem statement and include the question and included the methodology. Here there is example for the equations and the method and objectives. For example, what are the critical success factor issue in volumes on the 5G adoption in developed countries? The objective to determine critical issue in volumes on the 5G adoption in developed countries. The method is a questionnaire. So I have a question and I have objective, and the method that used between the objective and the question is a questionnaire. This is called method, or whatever the method that you use, but you have to link the three equation with objective and method. Here there is essential of the good objective in your dissertation. Actually, when you define your research objective, you have to ask yourself, this objective is measurable, achievable, realistic, or no? Measurable, it means it should be measurable in sense that you will be aware in the time you reach your objectives. Second, achievable, that means it should be achievable in the sense that it is realistic and visible. 3 is realistic. Realistic is availability or resources. It should be rarely achieved with available resources. So you have, with research objective, you have to think about the measurable, achievable, and realistic before you compare the final research objectives. Here, there is common mistake when the writing research objective. You have to avoid this common mistake. For example, avoid identifying phrasing research objective in such way what their meaning is unclear. For example, if I identify critical success factor, then stop. That means this objective is unclear. And what is the critical success factor, and what is the system, and what is the company or university or the domain area that you are working on. So this identify, it's the wrong way, and you have to identify the objective. It's like this way: identify critical success factor in volumes on the 5G successful adoption in telecommunication company. So here I identify the factors. I stated about the factor. I stated about the 5G technology, and I stated the domain that I am working on. Second mistake is about the confusing between research objective and research and project objective. Because some of the students, they work on the project and they try to do their PhD on based on that project. But when they started with the writing objective in their dissertation, they confusing, because it's totally different between the research objective and the project objective. Research objective is the refer on the area knowledge of the knowledge, but the project objective, it's something related to the bolt-on or advanced. So it is totally different. So you avoid this common mistake. The third is about identifying research aims. In research objective, I cannot say this is research aim or aim of the research. No, it is because aim, it's in the general in your area. You have to say research objective. Research objective is the more specific, but research aim is the more widely. So research objective is the more specific, and avoid aim in your thesis. Here there is keywords or action words we use when we identify the research objectives. First, we have to when we identify the research objective, we have to start with identify this keyword we have to use, or examine, or describe, evaluation, determine, estimate, development, or develop, or estimate. So when you started, you have to when you write the research objective, you have to write started with these action words. Here there is example. I give example. The technology platform available today don't support the high data flow from distribution locations as required for the construction because of the change of the natural. However, it is anticipated that our use of the IoT in constructions will increase significantly when standards such as 5G are implemented for the widespread usage. So here,
we're out of time, so please you could rush.
Okay, then you have one more slide.
As well, but yeah.
One more slide. Okay, one more slide, please. So here I have high data flow. So I have IoT platform, I have construct sector and factors and 5G. Here, when identify the objective, see, I started with identify the potential usage of the IoT technology for the virus construction project process. Second, evaluation. So I have now I use evaluate of the barriers raised by the connectivity using within this framework and embodies on the 5G in the overcome on the barriers of the elaborated. Three is determine the critical success factor embodies on the 5G adoption in construction sector. So I started with identify, evaluate, and determine to identify the objective. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Victor. Actually, we have one question from our audience regarding to the objectives, how to identify objectives. The question is here any limitations of the numbers of objectives in a PhD thesis?
For the PhD thesis, it must be at least 3 for the PhD.
Mm-hmm.
It's must be 3 for the if you identify more than 3, that means you need more time, and you have to think about the time and how you will achieve your objective during the temporary time.
This
so,
is standardized for every PhD student all the world, or only this is the most have to do? It's the most popular objectives. You have to have only 3. And in your
it's popular 3, but if you want more, it depends on you.
It is standardized that we have 3 objectives, and PhD depends on university.
For the PhD, based on, for example, based on my university, is the 3 objectives, and it is standard for the PhD. But for the others, maybe it's different, but it's standard 3 for the PhD.
Anyhow, thank you so much, Victor. And now we can move to Dr. Abdul Samad because we are running out of time because our webinar should be 1 hour. So anyhow, thank you so much, Dr. Ilham. And we start with Dr. Abdul Samad. He already shared his slide. So
okay, thank you. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. And thank you, Ilham, and the other audience for sharing your important views about the research. And I hope this helped the audience and the participant. I think most of the participants are PhD and master students.
I think
yes. Okay. So whatever the previous audience said that like about the introduction of the research, about the research problem, about the research objective. Now I will almost sum of all of them. And my topic will be on why do we need to publish a research paper. So ideally, a research paper we publish, there are certain purposes for that we publish research paper. For example, we need to share our knowledge, or we want to share the discoveries that we have done through our research, and we want to improve knowledge. Then we write a paper and share with the audience or the whole community around the world. And practically, we need to do publication, or we need to do a research paper to get funding, to get promotion when you are working as a faculty member in any of the university, you are required to do certain publication. You need to do research paper so you can get promotion. Also, papers are also published to get certain recognition in the world. Most of the authors write their paper. They are very famous around the world because they are very good researcher and they share their idea with the world. For example, most recently, there is a recent phenomena going on around the world, that is COVID-19, yes. And a lot of researchers are doing their research. They are giving new ideas. They are coming with the discoveries, and now the vaccine has come. So all these came through certain research. And also we want to do research, so we share our work or our knowledge with the other. And most importantly, for a student, why do we need to have a research paper? We need to get a PhD degree or Master of Philosophy or any master by research. So this is the most important part of any, for any of a PhD or a master students. Maybe you are very good in writing, you have written a very good thesis or your objective research problem, everything is very good, but certain universities have limitation. They need to have publication from you. If you don't have publication, you cannot get graduated, you cannot get a PhD. For example, in our university, when I was doing my PhD, we were required to have at least 2 publications. There are many students who could not publish on time and their PhD get delayed just because of the publication, even though they are very good in thesis, everything. So this is the most important and critical part of for any PhD students. So how to write and publish a research paper? Before writing a research paper or starting a research proposal, we need to have a desire or motivation to do research. If you have a desire and you are motivated to do a research, then you come to the PhD or researchers. If you are not motivated and you don't have the desire to do a research, then I would suggest that someone should not get involved in this, because if you want to enjoy your journey, it is a very tough journey, your PhD journey or master's journey. You should enjoy it. You should have motivation. You should have some goal or objective that you want to achieve. If you have these things, then you can write a very good thesis and you can write a very good research paper. Also, interest in the field is an essential part of writing a good paper. If you are choosing a topic, you should be interested in that one. Sometimes you go to one university and you meet your friend or colleague, they say this topic is very easy, you can get, and there are a lot of contribution you can make to the literature, but maybe that doesn't match to your interest. If it is not matching your interest, then in the middle of this, your journey, you will get stuck in. You cannot do, because if there is no interest, you cannot enjoy your PhD journey or your research journey. So interest in your field of area is very important. I would suggest to any students who are doing research, they must choose a topic that is of interest to them. If it matches their interest, they should do. If it is not their interest area, then they should change the topic and go to a topic that best fit them. And third, a strong understanding of your subject. For sure, we have done master or we do undergraduation and we get certain knowledge of the certain topics. We should have some understanding of the subject that we are doing. So now I will come to the main part of the research paper. In a research paper, there are certain parts. For example, we must have a title. A title should be very precise and it should be like, for certain article, it should be within less than 15 words. Abstract and keywords, these are the most important part that every audience or every students will read of any paper. The other part is the introduction and including literature review, methodology, result, discussion and conclusion. Finally, limitation of the study and references. These are the essential part of the research paper. I will go into detail of each and every one. Abstract. The only part of the paper that everyone read is the abstract. So whatever you write, your main focus should be on the abstract. Abstract is the precise summary of your whole research. If it is abstract of a thesis, it is also the summary of the whole thesis. If it is abstract for a research paper, it is the summary of the whole research paper. Abstract should be concise, it should be clear and understandable, and must include research problem, research objectives, research question, methodology, and result. These are the essential parts that should be included in any abstract. For example, an example of abstract is, for example, I have come with an example of the abstract. For example, I have written that there is ... This shows that problem. For example, if we have research problem, we should put it in the abstract. For example, there is a problem like job dissatisfaction. We put in the the ... spot. job dissatisfaction has been an area of concern for the management of any organization. We can put the name of organization. Now here I come and acknowledge that other authors have also studied this one. For example, numerous attempts have been made to address the issue of job dissatisfaction. However, limited knowledge is available on how to certain factors play important role in addressing the issue of job dissatisfaction. Then here he will come to the objectives of the study. This study aims to examine the impact. This is the objective of the study, as Ilham said. We should have clear and understandable objective. So we should also include the objectives in our abstract as well. This study aims to examine the effect of whatever our objective. We should put that one on job dissatisfaction. That, for example, it is our research problem. Then we should come to the methodology. How you are going to achieve your objective, how you are going to do your research. For example, the data from the participant, you should also include your participant. Who are your participant? The data from the participant was collected through how you collected your data. It is a survey, it is a collective study, is it an interview? And then how you analyze the data. For example, we can use certain softwares, for example, IBM SPSS, and we can use NUO or SmartPLS, whatever. We should also mention these in our abstract of the research paper. For example, in this study, the data from the participant was collected through a self-administered survey, and IBM SPS has been used for data analysis. Finally, we should come to the findings. What we found in our paper, we should also include in the paper. For example, the findings reveal that whatever are significantly related to job dissatisfaction. Then we should also provide recommendation to the practitioner. Those who are reading our paper, they want to get some idea that how this research paper can help them resolve the problem. If we are writing a paper, you should also provide recommendation to the practitioner and management and those who are interested in your paper. For example, we should say that, for example, this study can be used by the management to address certain issues. For example, the recent about COVID, there are a lot of research paper has been proposed and a lot of recommendation has been made to the world that how to address these issues. For example, the mask came, they said you should use the mask. If we are using the mask, it can reduce the flow of the disease. So these were the recommendations that the researcher provided to the community. So we should also include the recommendation. Then we should come to the introduction. The next part of the research paper is introduction. Introduction is also an important part of the research paper, and many authors or editors or researchers who are reading a paper, they also go and read the introduction. From here, your paper can be accepted or can be rejected. For example, if you wrote a very good abstract, then the editors or the audience or whoever is reading the paper, they will go to the introduction. They will see what is new in the paper, what is the main research problem, what is the background of the study, and what are the research questions that we propose in the question and how this question has been addressed. And what are the most important research gap that the author or the authors are addressing. If these things are lacking in the introduction, then most probably your paper will be rejected. I sent a lot of paper to a lot of journals, like each paper was rejected 10 times, 15 times. So every time I change the paper and I include everything and improve the paper. So finally with the passage of time, it got accepted. So when I include each and everything and wrote it in a very nice way, then the chances of acceptance will be very high. So in the introduction, we should also include the background of the study. For example, if you are doing study, I'm doing a study from Pakistan, I should post the context of Pakistan. I should say that this study is being conducted in Pakistan because the culture or the norms and value that we are having in Pakistan, that is quite different from the Western world, from the Middle East, or from the other Asian countries. So we should also pose this one. And also we should pose the research problem and the research question, as I already mentioned, and the objective of the study that Ilham already said, and also the research gap. This is the most important part of the research paper. Every author or every editor will go and see the research gap. If the research gap is not very clear, then most probably the paper will be desk rejected. Desk rejected is the worst part of any research paper. So when it is desk rejected, it means that even your paper has not gone to the editor. So when you write a very nice introduction and you include each and everything and the gap is already mentioned over there, Then we go to the literature review. In the literature review, we review the previous literature, which can include books, articles, case studies, reports, thesis and dissertation, and also newspaper. So in the literature review, although a lot of literature is available on each and every topic, but we cannot include all the research paper or all the literature review in a single paper, because in the research paper, we are limited by words. We cannot, for example, for some journal, we cannot exceed more than 5,000 words. For some paper, we cannot exceed more than 8,000 words. So if you are limited by these words, then we cannot do a lot of review. We cannot put or acknowledge the previous work. So here we should be very systematic and very precise in the literature review. And in the literature review, we should also provide the definition and explanation of each and every variable that we are going to study. Also, we should provide a critical discussion of the previous literature or the previous work done and substantiate our claim with the previous literature. In the literature review, the most important part is critical discussion. We should discuss the previous work. For example, if someone has done a work on some topic and we are doing on the same topic, then how our work is different from the previous one. Here we should critically discuss. Critically, it doesn't mean we should criticize or we should discredit other work. We should acknowledge other work, that this work has been done, but my work is different from the previous work in this way. For example, I give the context of Pakistan. I am doing from Pakistan and this study was done in Malaysia or Middle East countries. So that is why my study is different, because the culture in Pakistan is different from other one. For example, I give you the example, job satisfaction. It is very research topic. There are a lot of studies, but still there are a lot of research coming. So then how can we say this study has made contribution to the literature? Because job satisfaction from 1970s or 1960s, this topic is under research. But still researcher or scholar claim that their studies are different from the previous work because they critically discuss the other work. We should acknowledge other work and then pose that why our study is different. For example, the sample size may be different of our study than other. Then in this case, we can claim that our study is different from other because we are including a very large sample size, or we are doing interview with the audience or with the participant. So that is why our study is also different from other work. So literature review also is an essential part of a research paper. When we write literature review, then we go to the methodology. Methodology, usually it guides us how to do our research. It is also an essential part of any research paper. It guides us how to do our research. There are a lot of research methodologies. For example, our research can be qualitative, in which we make discussion or interview with audience. In qualitative study, we want to explore something. It can be quantitative, where we pose certain hypotheses and then we test these hypotheses with numerical statistics or with the data. Or it can be both mixed method, like that include qualitative or quantitative. So methodology is also an essential, and it depends on the objectives of your study and your research problem. For example, if the objective of your study is, I think someone in the audience posed a research question that how we choose methodology. So here you can get an idea how to choose methodology. For example, if your objective of the study is to explore something, you want to explore something new, then your methodology should be qualitative. Or if you are posing certain hypotheses based on theories or literature, then in that case, your study or your research methodology should be quantitative. Or you may use a mixed method, which I would not recommend for a PhD student, because if you go to PhD students, doing both qualitative and quantitative, it is little complex and it takes a lot of time. And in PhD, we are limited by time as well, and most of us are working. So we stick to one research methodology and choose your research methodology based on your research objectives. After methodology, when we have methodology, for example, we are using quantitative study, then we get the data from the audience and we should analyze the data. And when we analyze the data, we will get the result. And the result is actually the finding of our study. And then we will see like that what we got from our study. In this case, when we do the result, when we get the result, then we should discuss our result. In the discussion, we critically discuss the findings of our study. For example, if we found that job satisfaction is caused by like lack of training, we should discuss this. Maybe previous work literature says that training is not important for the job dissatisfaction, but we said that it is important for the job satisfaction. So in this case, we should discuss that why our study is different from the other work. Here we should also criticize other work and also pose that because of the context of the study or the sample size of the study or whatever other things that are different, that make our study different from other, we should also say that one. We should discuss critically and pose the discussion. In the discussion, we can also, our result can also be in line with the result of other researcher. For example, if we found that job satisfaction was caused by training, the other author may have done the same study. So here we should also acknowledge that the previous scholars or the previous researchers also done the same studies, and they also done the same studies, and they also found the same thing, that training was very important for the job satisfaction. The findings of your study may contradict previous work or substantiate. In both cases, provide justification, and we should also provide justification. How to provide justification? For example, if you found something, we should also pose related studies that have found similar thing to our studies. Even if our study contradicts previous work, we should also acknowledge the other work. So this is the important part that the editors or the reviewer look into a research paper. So for the implication, most of the journal, they require that we should have a separate section for the implication, but most probably implication are put in the discussion about the research paper. So here you can give another heading of the implication, or you can put it in the discussion of the study. In the application, as you know, that we provide certain implication, we provide theoretical contribution, that what we contributed to the literature, that was the gap that we addressed, that will be our theoretical contribution, and also in practical contribution, we guide the management that what should management get from our study. For example, if we have done a study, we find certain thing, we should provide implication to the management that this study should be used to improve the job satisfaction or decrease the job dissatisfaction of the employees. And another part that is also important in a study, limitation of the study. Although every study, when we do a study, every study has certain limitation. As we know that no one is perfect in the world. Similarly, not every research or research paper is 100% perfect. Whoever do a study or a thesis, they have certain limitation. We should acknowledge the limitation of the study. It doesn't discredit our study that our study is limited because we have certain limitation. It doesn't mean our study is not good. It shows our credit, it shows our credibility that we are acknowledging the limitation of our study. So whatever are our limitation, we can also pose that this for the future researcher. The future researcher can use the limitation of our study, and they can use this and claim it as a contribution of their own study. For example, they can say that this study was limited by sample size, but now I am increasing the sample size, so that is why my study is different from the work of Samad or whatever. So we should put limitation in the study as well. Limitation can be in many forms. For example, qualitative have certain limitation, quantitative studies they have different limitation. So most of the authors, they don't put the limitation. They think, I was also thinking that when I put limitation, it means that my study is not good because it is limited by certain things. Then with the passage of time, I came to know that it is also an important part, and being a researcher, we should be ethical as well. We should put the limitation of the study. And most importantly, the last part is the references. Whatever we cite or whatever we are using, we should not claim something from our own self. We should not make claim in our paper. If we are making claim and it is from the others, we took from someone else, then it is plagiarism. It is not good. So whoever we acknowledge or whoever we cite in our paper, we should give their references as well. We should acknowledge them that this work was done by this scholar. If we make a claim and it is the claim of other one, this is unethical as well, and it is plagiarism as well. So also acknowledge the previous work. It also increase the credibility of our paper. It doesn't decrease the credibility of our paper.
Thank you so much, Dr.
And thank you very much. If there is any question.
Thank you so much, Dr. for this brief about how to publish. It's really useful. I learned a lot from you and from other speakers today. So if you don't mind, since we are extended time, we will extend it for more 5 minutes, if you don't mind, our speaker and our audience. So we will open time for questions from our participants. So Doctors, are you agree with it? Dr. Ibrahim?
Yeah, it's okay. For me, I'm okay to extend it to
Okay.
answer just the questions. We already have a number of questions. I note them down.
Okay, so here I will open the mics now for all the participants. So anyone who have questions, please just raise your hand. Okay, Hafizul, you have the first question. So now you can talk. Hafizul, you can ask your question. Okay. So all are allowed now to ask their questions. So anyone who have any questions, you can share it right now with our doctors. Could you do it, Dr. Abdul Samad? Stop sharing the screen. So maybe.
I think we can answer the questions already raised in the chat. We have about 6 questions.
Yeah. I think we can use the chat because the mic has technician problems. So yes.
Okay.
So Hafizul, what's your questions? You can write it down, please, because I don't know. I sent you an unmute your mic. But doesn't. Okay. Now he can ask. Yes, Mr. Hafizul Muhammad. What's your question?
Yeah. Thank you so much. I want to ask about referencing in the research methodology and the review of literature. How important is it in citing papers that have a very high number of citations in the research literature and review? Is it important in publications?
Voice is broken, so we cannot hear you clearly. So if you may write your question, will be better if we will have this issues with others. So while you write your question, we will take Aziz's questions asking when to publish. I think this question goes to Dr. Abdul Samad.
Well, can you hear me?
Actually, there's a question for you. That's people asking about when to publish. Where is the correct time to publish? After each objectives or in the end of the research?
When you are a PhD student and because
your voice is not clear, Doctor. Could you please increase the volume?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, now it's better.
When you are a PhD student, the most important part to publish a research is when you do your proposal defense. In the proposal defense, we write the first 3 chapters, like we do the introduction chapter, the literature review, and the research methodology. When you do your research proposal, at that stage, you must have your clear understanding of your research problem, your research objective, your research question, and you should have done a thorough literature review. In this stage, you also know what is your research methodology. So when you do your research proposal, this is the stage that you can go for a research paper, write a research paper. You can write a review paper, or you can go to conceptual paper where you just propose your ideas, whatever you have done in your till your proposal defense stage, that you can publish. So the most important, I think, when you enroll a PhD, at least after 1 year, you are in a position you should write a research paper. But here I would warn the audience that there are certain conferences that may claim that their paper will be published in Scopus Index or ISI Index. So I would suggest, if you are going to a conference, just go for meeting the people or meeting new people or new researcher or something like that. Don't go for publication from the conferences, because these conferences, they have linked with a certain paid journal. Most probably they are predatory journal who take money and then they publish your work. So whatever you write, they will publish. So in this case, they extract money from you, and they also don't give a review to your paper. They don't give feedback on your paper. So when you are going to a research paper or going to for publishing a research paper, try yourself and find a research journal and send your research paper to them. You will get feedback from them and then improve it. It will be rejected again, improve it. And don't worry, maybe it is rejected 10 times or 5 times. Every time you improve your paper and stage will come, it will be accepted. So I would suggest, like after 1.5 years after a PhD, or when you enroll a PhD, you should be in a position to apply for a research paper.
Thank you so much, Victor, for this answering. So we have another more questions here for the benefit of those who missed the beginning of a presentation. I mean, okay, this I think is not, it's asking about the people who's missed. Oh, wow.
There is a question, Ali. How do I identify appropriate journal to publish my research work?
Yes, please.
I think it goes to Hamad. How do I identify appropriate journal to publish my research work? Dr. Hamad, you want to go?
Mr. Samad, you want to
Yes.
take this?
Yes. To find a research journal is also very complex. First, you should go to the scope of the journal. The
Usman,
scope of the
Dr. Usman, please.
this-
I mute all, so now I will re-unmute anyone. So now, Dr. Abdul Samad, now we cannot hear you right now. Could you please open your mic? Yeah, I send you an invitation to use your mic now.
Okay, I think I will answer the question before.
Yeah, now you can. Now we can hear Dr. Abdul Samad.
So first we should go to the scope of the journal. We should check whether the scope of the journal match our research interest or no. If the scope is not matching, then we should not apply to that research journal. And the shortcut way, that is the smartest way that I would suggest. When we write a research paper, we cite different paper in our own research paper. And in our references, we should find which research paper suit or close to my own paper. So then we should apply to that one. This is the shortest way. Or other thing, there are different database like Elsewhere, Scopus. They have different certainties. They ask you to put the title of your paper and then also ask you to put the abstract of your research paper and methodology, and then you search. And based on that one, these databases, they also provide you the most appropriate paper, that journal that match your research paper. So you can get also idea from that one. But the shortest way or the shortcut way, that is when we cite references or different authors, we should look to a journal that is very close to our own paper, and we should apply that one.
Thank you so much, Victor. So there is another question. I think it also goes for you because it's all about publication. Are papers with higher citations much preferable to reference and research?
Yes, it is a very good question. The citation shows the worth of the paper. If paper is highly cited, it means that it's a very good paper. Because, as I said in the beginning, certain conferences, they have linked with the predatory journal. They publish your work, and then your paper never get a single citation. So it means that the paper was nothing and there was nothing new. When you make a very good paper, the paper will be cited by other and other will acknowledge it. So it is very important, like in every research, because certain journals, they ask you that you should cite a very good journal, not a normal journal. These journals should be indexed in Web of Science or Scopus. If you just cite journals that is not indexed in any database, and that paper will be rejected by the good journal. So the citation, definitely it shows the worth of the paper, and highly cited paper, if you cite in your thesis or in your research, it is very good, and the chances of your acceptance or whatever will be very high.
Thank you so much, Doctor. I think there is one more question goes to Dr. Ilham. It's about someone who needs more about formulate research objectives. So could you please give one or two more tips about how to formulate the research objective, Dr. Ilham?
For the research objectives, first he have or he or she that we asked, he have to identify for the problem is the gap clearly, and what is the scope of his study as well, and what is the questions. And he can, the formulated is the based on the scope, based on the gaps, based on the problem study. Then he can formulate it clearly. Okay?
Yes, Doctor, we can hear you.
Yeah, it's shortening is the based on the gaps, based on the problem, based on the scope of study. Then he can formulate the equations.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ilham. So I guess we still have two more. It depends on the supervisor. The supervisor need to publications. He or she will help in publications. I think Dr. Abdul Samad should be raise this one.
Someone asked the question, so I answered it here. The question was, is it common supervisor help in publishing and choosing journal? I think it depends on the supervisor. The supervisor doesn't help you in publishing. The supervisor only guide you in writing a research paper, and then you should publish yourself. Yes, certain supervisor, if they are in the early stage of their career, for example, if they are lecturer or a assistant professor, they also need publication. In this case, they help us that we should do publication. But if they are professor or whatever, they will let you do yourself. They will just guide you, write a paper, and they will read it and give their feedback, and they will say good luck and just send. So PhD or research journey is a student journey. Supervisors just guide us.
Students, yes.
They just guide us, and they let us write a paper, and they give their feedback. We should improve it, and then we should publish ourselves. We should not expect the supervisor will help us in publishing or finding a journal, because there are a lot of students, they don't have time also.
Yeah, right. It's all about the management that we put to ourselves, and with their guidance, we will reach our aim. Thank you so much, Dr. Abdul Samad. So I have one question about, I think this is the last question because we are extended too long. I think this goes to Dr. Ibrahim. For a critical perusal of literature, how far back does a research need to go in terms of years to review and come up with a problem statement? Dr. Ibrahim? Dr. Ibrahim, are you?
Okay, I admit myself. Okay, for critical appraisal of literature, I can't tell you a specific year that you need to go, but you need to read as much as possible, ensuring that you did not miss any important study in your specific domain. You have to try and link all the studies. Maybe study ABC, or there is a particular period that the studies is focused about something, so you focus on a few studies there. Then you try and link up with all the studies, but really you have to go as far back as possible.
So let's say 5 years enough, or we should go deeper if there is liquid thermal information as well, or 5 years will be enough to come up with a problem statement regarding to the topic. Dr. Ibrahim, are you hearing me? There is a technician problems with Dr. Ibrahim. Hello, Dr. Ibrahim.
No, it depends.
Sorry, we didn't hear anything from you. It was, you know.
I have a very poor reception.
Anyhow, yes,
Yeah,
now we can hear you well. You can back to the question before we end.
Okay.
No?
Okay.
Sorry?
Okay, maybe 2 years.
2 years max.
2 years might be possible for you to get.
It will be more than enough.
In one context, and they might not. Yeah.
Anyhow, thank you so much, Dr. And I think we are run out of time. We are already extended around half an hour, and there is many questions come up. So if you want to give opportunity for one more questions, we will do. If doctors, you have another, things to do, so we can end right now. Oh, there's someone need more light on how to write a PhD research proposal. I think this question goes to Dr. Asma. Dr. Asma, are you hearing me? Hello, Dr. Asma? We can. Now, Dr. Asma, you can talk, yes.
Okay, to PhD degree research, first you must define the aim of his work paper, or what do you want to hope to achieve, and then he must determine the objective of his actions you will be taken in order to achieve the aim, and this is all the points that he wanted when we want to go to a PhD degree. You must satisfy the aim and the objectives.
In terms of the full idea about the PhD proposal. Hello?
Yes.
I think there's technicians problems with voice right now, so we cannot hear you clearly, Dr. Asma. So,
Yes, he first must define the aim of his projects and the objectives he wants to looking for study, and then he must determine the subject and the topics of his research.
thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Asma. Hello? So I think doctors, thank you so much for this opportunity today, for giving to other participants here. So we will go to end because we are rich out of time. So in the end, I'd love to thank all of the participants in our webinar. Also, I'd like to thank our speaker for this good and useful tips. And finally, I'd love to thank the Department of Information Technology in Bureau University Kano for this opportunity. So thank you so much for your attention today, and we'd love to meet you again, doctors. And thank you for all of you. Thank you. So have a good day. Have a good day, doctors.
Okay, have a good day. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ilham. Thank you, Ali. Thank you, Dr. Samad.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for all. Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
So now I think we need to leave the group if you want, doctors, and if you wanted to stay for a while, it's up to you. Actually, Dr. Ibrahim, a lot of people have asking about sharing the slides. So we should share it here, or we will send an email, or when we can get the emails, the slideshow. Dr. Ibrahim? I think we lost Dr. Ibrahim. Anyhow, thank you so much for all of you again. We will try to back to you with your emails with the slideshow for all participants. And thank you so much and have a good day.